In this week's IoT Radar, I'm meeting up with Pablo Vidarte, and he and his team at Bioo are developing a complete new way of energy harvesting. Energy harvesting from pots, plants and the nature around us. And that is also creating a complete new generation of applications. I also have a small news item on software-defined electronics, on how to program new hardware. I hope you will enjoy watching the IoT Radar. There are many ways to design hardware. You can start using the good old breadboard or take your ideas through a simulator and then do the PCB design. The people from jitX are taking a completely different approach. They design hardware by programming and they call it software-defined electronics. The interesting thing is that everything that can be programmed can also be easily reprogrammed and reused. If you want to know more about this way of hardware design, in one of the following radars we will have an interview coming up with one of the makers, so stay tuned. And I'm here with the IoT Radar at Bioo, and Bioo is a company in the southern part of Barcelona. I'm meeting up with Pablo Vidarte, and he is the CEO and founder of Bioo, a special company, because you are developing something really, really special. You're trying to generate electricity or energy out of nature, out of plants. Is that true?
Well, indeed, we're creating energy out of nature itself. We do it via a lot of ways, actually. But in general terms, what we do is to basically use a natural process that is happening everywhere, on parks, on gardens, and basically there are microorganisms living there, and they eat the organic matter that you find there. Once they do that, they basically liberate electrons in the process, and those electrons, they normally get lost and recombine with other molecules. What we do is basically to collect them and create an electrical current out of it. The applications in which we are moving forward to are basically turning on light points in gardens and parks, also turning on sensors, which is basically our main application right now, or the one that we're starting to applicate in agricultural fields. And it's basically very interesting because you're actually measuring humidity, temperature, pH from a field, and you're even able not just to take the measurement but also to send a signal kilometers away.
Okay, so basically, if I understand it correctly, it is just a sort of a plug.
Exactly.
You just put it in the ground.
Exactly.
And it takes all the energy of the ground. It has a wide area network connection and then it sends out, every now and then a signal with the data of the temperature, of the humidity.
Exactly.
That's correct. Okay,
yeah.
So you don't need any batteries or wires on that location. You just plug it in and
exactly. It just works with earth and a little bit of water, but that's basically it. In general terms, what we do is a battery that it's basically saved within the ground, and it's very natural because it just uses what the farmers are already taking care of.
Yeah. Now here at this location, you're doing also your R&D. We already discussed a sensor, but I also believe there are other things and other products in development.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, right now we have two lines in the market. One of them is, an educational line which is focused on schools and businesses to teach how to make these technologies applicable in our daily lives or, in projects that you may have in your company. And also we have another line which is called Bioo installations, where we are using plants as biological switches, which is a very interesting technology as well, and a very different one, because what we are using, it's basically plants, and one very interesting ability that they have, and is that they are able to perceive changes in frequencies. We are using them as biological switches because it's only when a living being touches them that the system gets activated. It's very cool because if rain falls or if you have wind currents or something like that, it doesn't get activated. It's just when a living being actually interacts with nature. Okay. And it's very cool for domotics with the buildings of the future or the home of the future. Imagine going inside a hotel room, for example, and touching a green wall and being able to turn on the lights of your room. But when talking about, for example, using plants like that, I mean, like actually reading how they feel or what they are actually perceiving, that's actually one of our future projects that we will probably do in the following years, which is basically not a sensor that basically reads the environment, but a sensor which literally asks the plant what it really needs.
Okay. So that all sounds very futuristic. So what do you see as the next step? Because I think also people will look at this and say, okay, difficult to understand. I understand what a battery is, but how a plant or the nature can work as a battery or as a switch, that is a bit out of my scope. What is your next step with your company, and how will that evolve to also convince people and the industry and the market that this is a real solution?
Well, basically by trying. I mean, we are already doing this technology, these batteries, and we are already placing them in pilot tests, and they're pretty much open for the public to come in and see how much they are producing. And in general terms, I think that it's something that is really cool and that really fits within the concept of basically erasing the idea of having a city consisting on concrete walls and basically translating that into recovering what we had before, the nature that we had before, but this time with some changes, because we're actually creating a symbiosis between nature and technology, and that's the cool thing about it. It's not fighting against progress, but basically going with progress and creating a really cool world, a very beautiful idea. And I think that it's an idea that we all have right now in this decade, and it's basically going to grow even more.
Yeah, and this is also recognized by the European programs, I understood.
Yes, indeed. I mean, right now we have made 3 different financial rounds. We've been supported economically by the European Union as well, with 2 European projects. And apart from that, the European Parliament itself recognized us as the most innovative company of Europe.